Hello guys, welcome back to Rocket Gyan, my fellow tubers. So let me just mute this music down. So hey guys, welcome back. How are you? How are you? So today we are going to witness one more mission from SpaceX. Yes, SpaceX usually do many missions from its end, but this is one of the special mission because in this, as you can see, the SpaceX company pushes itself to test all of their components. Yeah, that's the thing. So today we are going to witness that scenario here, which is the Starlink mission. What is it? How it will be executed, and what all is there? I'll tell you all of that. So let's just jump into it. So let me tell you what is there first in this mission itself. So here we have the um, mission, and let me just zoom in. Yes, here. So SpaceX is targeting today June 3 9:25 p.m. EDT, and this for the 8th launch of Starlink satellites. Yes, it is the Starlink 7th mission, but the 8th launch of Starlink satellites because um, in the first mission that Starlink satellite was experimental, so it was just not counted in actual Starlink constellation. But yeah, this is the 8th launch, but the 7th batch of the Starlink satellites. So here we have actually what will happen. We will have the launch ascent. Here we have the MECO, the main engine cutoff, stage separation, and the second stage startup. Here we have that. Then finally this is start this because of the second stage engine which is lit up, it will just go and go further away, and after a further in the flight the fairing will separate, and then the payload will eventually the payload will also separate. What is the payload? The Starlink mission, Starlink satellites are the payload. So meanwhile, the first stage it will perform a flip maneuver. Flip maneuver is basically it will just point the engines retrograde, which was here. The engines were here. It just points it here, so that it will help in re-entry as well as in the entry burn and landing burn. So after that it will deploy the here it will deploy the grid fins, and then the entry burn will start. Then finally the grid fins will aerodynamically guide the first stage to this autonomous drone ship. And today the autonomous drone ship is not, of course I still love you, but just remember things. So just remember things is the older version of course I still love you, but still is a relevant one. So that's why it is using today. And here is the timeline. So it's okay, we don't need that. Now we can have a look at the okay, I didn't change that. Okay, no problem. Now I just have a let me just have a look at the actual payload. Let's just have a look on that. So the payload is the Starlink satellite, as we all know. And here the SpaceX is basically using this Starlink satellites to deploy the broadband internet system. What is Starlink? Why is it using? Basically it is using this as it will provide high speed internet with low latency rate. Mainly the internet providing satellites are located in geostationary orbits, and geostationary orbit is way above than these low earth orbit satellites. So it provides a low latency rate, and also in Starlink we can have internet on every place, on any place of earth, on earth. See, high speed internet access across the globe. Since we don't need any infrastructure, the internet is directly accessed from satellite, so we don't actually have to be in a proper urban area to access internet. We can access internet from any place of the earth. SpaceX is targeting this kind of constellation, so it can just target any place on earth, and we can have a good internet connection. Currently, Starlink is able to target northern US and Canada, and it will further expand its global coverage. See here, it is what I was talking about. The Starlink orbit is at 550 kilometer, and the other satellites which provides internet has 1000 kilometers plus. So that's one thing. And also there, the Starlink satellites have inbuilt thrusters, not the inbuilt thruster I would say. Yeah, it has inbuilt thruster, but what I was saying was, uh, since the orbit of Starlink satellites is so low that after the lifespan of this, it will just re-enter the atmosphere and burn up. So it will have the space clean, keep the space clean. This is how the Starlink satellites look like when kept packed. Don't it look like what do you say, a more a compact like building structure, right? This is the main satellite. It's so thin, right? So thin. And these are the solar panels. These are the solar panels, and this is the satellite. And this is the where the ion propulsion system which is used to separate, once the second stage puts it into a preliminary orbit, it will go into the targeted orbit using the ion thrusters. That's one thing. And we have the star tracker to know the position, and this one autonomous collision avoidance to avoid the collision in high speed. That's the thing. So now let me just go into the Falcon 9 rocket itself. Just wait a sec a bit. Hmm. Yeah, here we have. So here we have the Falcon 9 rocket. As you can see, guys, this is what we'll be using today, and this is what was the rocket which was used in Crew Demo 2 mission. So here what we have, this is the rocket. Instead of the Dragon capsule, here we'll have the fairing today. And yeah, the overall characteristic remain the same, 222.8 tons to the low Earth orbit, which is basically today. And geotransfer orbit is 8.3 tons, and to the Mars is 4 tons, around 4 tons. Then we have the SpaceX launch, the first stage. The first stage is here, as you can see, uh, has this RP1 engine and liquid. Basically, the first stage is powered by the 9 Merlin 1D engines, which has RP1 as fuel and liquid oxidizer. This is basically a rocket propellant. This is more refined rocket propellant, or you can say more refined jet fuel, or you can say more refined diesel. That's the one thing. Falcon 9 in flight we'll see today. This is the Merlin engine which will have today, which is a family of rocket developed by SpaceX for use on its Falcon 9 and Falcon 1 rocket. uh, this is a pre-burner which SpaceX uses, and this is a Merlin engine. And in vacuum, the bell of this nozzle increases significantly. Here we have, uh, if I show you the comparison, as you can see here, here are 9 engines, this one. Okay, and in the second stage we have only one engine. So the space of 9 engines is occupied by one engine, so you can just think of how much space it's occupied and how big it can be. That's the thing. And yeah, here we have that thing. Now let me just give you a overlook quick preview of the what actually will happen here. So guys, if you haven't subscribed, just subscribe. And here we are with the preview. mm, okay, wait a sec. Yeah, So guys, here we have the what will happen today. Starlink 7 is the seventh Starlink satellites, and the seventh batch of, not the seventh batch, it's the eighth batch of Starlink satellite, but the seventh batch of operational satellite. Payload mass is 18.5 tons, and yes, they will be recovering the first stage. Also, this will be the 86th flight of Falcon 9, 53rd booster landing if successful, 36th reflight of a booster, second time a booster has flown 5 times. So this is basically the booster which they are using is a pretty old one, and ninth mission for SpaceX in 2020. Yeah, and just read the instruction will be the drone ship where it will land. So here, that's the one thing. Also, they will be recovering the fairing will be recovered by Go Mystery and Go Mischief. These are two ships which are autonomous, and it recovers the fairing. So what, how does it recover the fairing? Basically, as you can see, this is the um, area where actually it tries to catch the fairing. Here the fairing lands. Fairing has itself has parachutes, so it just lands slowly, and also has one GPS, and it is a autonomous ship, so it just tracks it down, and then then the fairing just gets into these nets. Okay, so yeah, this is how the Starlink set. This is basically, if I'm not wrong, are the iron thrusters, and this is how it looked like, the Starlink satellite constellation. This, yeah, this works on the iron power, and yeah. So, what is Falcon 9 Block 5? Falcon 9 Block 5 is basically the most advanced version of the Falcon 9, and now the SpaceX has stopped investing its R&D into Falcon 9. Rather, it has moved its R&D on more bigger rockets like Starship and, if I'm not wrong, Falcon Heavy too. But Falcon Heavy has these boosters only attached to itself, so I am assuming it has moved its R&D to Starship only. And it, yeah, it is human rated, as you can see, as you remember, if you remember, this mission was basically there to be launched. uh, this rocket was there, in which the crew demo 2 mission was launched. That's one thing. That's the version which we have come on, and yeah. So now we are just waiting for them to come live. Once they come live, we'll have the launch. So guys, now tell me, how are you? And how are you? So did you guys watch the Crew Demo 2 mission? Did you guys watch that? It was so such a cool scenario, right? Did you guys watch that? Tell me that first of all. First of all, tell me, chat. Mhm. Not this one. Not this one. This one. Yeah. Did you guys watch that? Tell me that. We're just waiting for it to come alive. Guys, were you able to hear me properly or not? Tell me if you weren't. I'll tweak the settings accordingly. If you weren't, just tell me, guys. And share this stream as much as possible. Share it, guys. Share it. We are just waiting for the live stream to happen. Once it happens, and we are good to go. Okay, so we have the live stream. We just switch over to that. Okay guys, here we have the live stream from the SpaceX itself. It will basically start from T-minus 15 minutes. Here we are guys, so today we'll witness one more important live stream. Actually, I like this logo so much, you know. Their SpaceX logo. So here we are.
4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff, Falcon 9.
morning. It is Wednesday, June 3rd, and you are looking at a live view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 9:25 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Cape Canaveral Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida. Hello from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. My name is Jesse Anderson, and I'm a lead manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX. You're watching a live webcast for our 8th Starlink mission and our 9th mission this year. To date, we've launched over 420 Starlink satellites to orbit. As a reminder, Starlink is a constellation of satellites that can provide high-speed, low-latency internet all over the globe, particularly in remote or rural areas where connectivity is limited or completely unavailable. This latest launch comes on the heels of our historical first launch of humans over the weekend. In case you missed it, we'll give you a quick update on that later in the broadcast. At T-minus 9 minutes, all systems are go for an on-time liftoff this evening. And if for any reason there is a hold on the countdown today, we have a backup launch window opportunity tomorrow at 9:04 p.m. Eastern. You're looking at a live view of Falcon 9, our 70-meter two-stage liquid-fueled launch vehicle, getting ready for launch from Space Launch Complex 40, or SLIC 40. This booster will be flying for the 5th time today. It previously supported the Telstar 18 VANTAGE mission, Iridium 8, and the first Starlink mission, as well as the 3rd Starlink mission. The bottom 2/3 of the vehicle is the first stage. You can see the soot markings left over from its last flight. And the first stage accelerates the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere into space with the help of 9 Merlin engines at the base of the rocket. Today, we will be attempting to recover the first stage for the 5th time, which, if we are successful, would be the first 5th landing of a Falcon 9 booster. Today, we are using our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, which was our very first drone ship, and opposed to our more commonly used drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, since it was currently occupied by our Demo 2 Falcon 9 booster up until last night from this past weekend's exciting historical launch. Just Read the Instructions is currently stationed about 350 nautical miles northeast of the Cape and about 200 nautical miles east of Charleston. Above the first stage is the second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry the Starlink satellites into an elliptical orbit above the Earth's surface. From there, they will use their propulsion system to move up to their operational altitude of 550 kilometers. And Falcon 9 has been loading propellant since T-minus 35 minutes. And as a reminder, we use a rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, as our fuel, and super chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX, as our oxidizer to power Falcon 9. And currently, RP1 and LOX are nearly fully loaded on both stages, and LOX will continue to be topped off right until the last minute of the countdown. The stack of 60 satellites is safely enclosed inside of the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which you can see on your screen. That's that pointed structure at the very top of the rocket. This protects the satellites from the aerothermal heating, aerodynamic loads, and contamination during ascent. But once we reach the vacuum of space, we no longer need them, so we will jettison the fairing as the second stage continues on its journey to orbit. We will be attempting to recover the fairing halves today using our recovery ships Mystery and Mischief. At approximately T plus 40 minutes, the team will perform a poll to confirm if we're all good to make a catch attempt, and weather plays a factor as well as telemetry of the fairing, its altitude, position, and speed. And we were watching some thick clouds earlier, making sure that we are good for weather, just like we did in last week's launch, Demo 2 launch, constantly checking on the weather. But today, we are currently go for weather at T0. So with that, the vehicle, satellites, weather, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just about 5.5 minutes from now. And as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, we are coming off an amazing weekend with the SpaceX and NASA teams successfully launching the dads, NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, to the International Space Station. Our second demonstration mission, or what we call Demo 2, lifted off from historic Launch Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center on Saturday, May 30th, and 19 hours later docked with the International Space Station. The mission marks the first time a commercially built spacecraft has launched people to the space station and the first time in nearly 10 years that the U.S. has launched astronauts into space from U.S. soil. The video that you see on your screen is Bob and Doug floating around in orbit, giving us a tour of their Dragon spacecraft, which they named Endeavour to commemorate the huge efforts made by the SpaceX team, as well as a nod to the first shuttle that they both flew on. Demo 2 is an end-to-end flight test from launch to docking to splashdown. It is the final major milestone for SpaceX's human spaceflight system to be certified by NASA for operational crew missions to and from the International Space Station. While Bob and Doug certainly had the best seats for the Demo 2 launch, they weren't the only ones to try their hand at docking Dragon to the space station. We recently released the same simulation that the astronauts trained on in advance of the Demo 2 mission. Head over to iss-sim.spacex.com to give it a try yourself. That simulation, the displays in Crew Dragon, and a bunch of other really cool projects were developed by SpaceX software engineers. Software engineers at SpaceX get to work across exciting projects that drive our rockets, spacecraft, satellites, and ground systems. If you're interested in helping roll out Starlink to the world or taking humanity to the moon and Mars, send your resume to softwarejobs@spacex.com. We will also be setting up a Reddit Ask Me Anything, or AMA, with our software team in the next week or so stay tuned to our social media accounts for details on that. Once Demo 2 is complete, the SpaceX and NASA teams have reviewed all the data for certification. NASA astronauts Victor Glover, Mike Hopkins, Shannon Walker, and JAXA astronaut Soichi Noguchi have been assigned to fly on Dragon's first 6-month operational mission, which we're calling Crew 1, which is targeted for later this year. We are currently 2.5 minutes from liftoff, and Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. The first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Super chilled liquid oxygen, which, as I mentioned earlier, is our propellant oxidizer, is what's creating those white clouds that you see around Falcon 9 when it's exposed to the warmer ambient air. You can see that on your screen there. First stage should finish prop loading, actually already has finished prop loading at T-minus 3 minutes, and second stage is coming up on finished prop loading at T-minus 2 minutes. At T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup, and that means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown.
Stage 2 lock load is complete.
So with the Starlink payload continuing to be healthy, the F9 teams, Falcon 9 teams are tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is still looking good, and the range is green for launch. So we are at T-minus 1.5 minutes from liftoff. And again, in about 30 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup.
And startup
what this means is that the vehicle will basically be autonomously making its decision if it will continue with liftoff at T0.
Basically, the flight computers will, the onboard rocket computers will take over, and we won't be having the control. We will be having the control from the ground station, but basically all the data and all the control will be provided by the in-flight computers. That's the one thing.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And there's that call out that Falcon 9 is in startup.
And we are less than 50 seconds from the liftoff, and I think today we'll have a successful liftoff. Go for launch.
And at T-minus 45 seconds, there was that call out for go for launch. Again, that was the Falcon 9 rocket making that decision autonomously. Now we are T-minus 30 seconds from liftoff of our Starlink payload tonight. So let's listen in and watch liftoff.
17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11,
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket
Falcon 9 pushing down range.
with all the Starlink satellites in the orbit. Now the first milestone will occur. That will be the max Q, when the vehicle will be max Q. Max Q basically the maximum aerodynamic pressure it will experience, and if the vehicle passes that, basically the strength of
We
the
are
physical
T
strength
plus
of the
40 seconds
rocket
into
is
flight, and Falcon 9 has
maintained.
successfully lifted
Power
off
telemetry
from
nominal.
Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, carrying our Starlink payload to its targeted drop-off orbit. Moments ago, we did throttle down our engines in preparation for max Q, and that is the maximum aerodynamic pressure, which is the largest
Vehicle
structural
supersonic.
load that the vehicle will see.
Yeah,
That's coming up here in a few seconds.
So here's the onboard camera view from the Falcon 9, and it is
Max
looking
Q.
so good.
And there's that call out that we have just passed through max Q. In about a minute, we will have 3 events happening back to back. The first of which will be main engine cutoff, or MECO. This is where all 9 M1D engines shut off to slow the vehicle down in preparation for the second event, which is stage separation. Stage separation is where the first stage separates from the second stage, with the first stage
Okay,
First
so
stage starting to make its way back to
basically
Earth for
we are
landing, and stage 2 continuing on its journey,
Okay.
with the third event called SES-1, or Second
Everything
Engine
is
Start
good
1.
right now.
And that's where the
you will
NVAC engine
basically
lights
see
up
the
on the
plume
second
of
stage
the
and propels the
first
second stage along with the Starlink
just
satellites
widening up
to its drop-off
as
orbit.
it travels up, because the atmospheric pressure decreases, and hence the plume
We are at
has
T plus
more
2 minutes and
area
5
to
seconds, so we're just
cover.
about
That's
25
the
seconds
thing.
away from those 3 events. Again, that is MECO, stage separation, and SES-1, or Second Engine Start 1.
Here's the second engine, and there that engine chill has begun, or the second stage. Now we'll have the first stage, main engine cutoff, and the stage separation coming soon. That's the main
MECO.
engine cutoff,
Stage separation confirmed.
and we have second engine start up. That's the thing. Okay, so the green flare which you saw right now
And there
was
you
the
can see on your
flare
screen,
of
on the
the
left screen, we
igniter.
had main engine cutoff and stage separation. On your right screen is the second stage MVAC engine lighting up, glowing bright red there.
In the
And it
left
is a
side
bit
of
dark
the
on the
screen,
East Coast,
we can
but you
see
can
the
see on
first
your left
stage.
screen that first stage, those grid fins are deploying. And on your
Now
right
the
screen, we have fairing deploy
will-
coming up
yeah,
here.
fairing has deployed.
And there is that confirmation of fairing deploy. Now let's see if those fairing halves can be recovered by our recovery ships, Mystery and Mischief today. Again, we won't have that live. That will happen around T plus 40 minutes. So check in with our social media accounts for updates on those fairing halves.
So in the left hand side, there it is the first stage which you are not able to see because of the because we don't have the light here.
And
It's
stage 2
nighttime
still looking
in
nominal.
US.
Again, that is what you see on your right screen.
Stage 2 is looking good, and the stage 1 has
Stage 1
performed the
is making its way
flip
back.
maneuver.
Signal Bermuda.
What? Okay, no problem.
And as the first stage makes its way back to Earth, it will perform 2 burns, the first of which will be the entry burn, and that is where 3 of the 9 M1D engines reignite, and this helps slow the vehicle down as it re-enters back into the upper part of the Earth's atmosphere. And finally will be the second and final burn is the landing burn, and this is a single engine burn. That's the center E9 engine that reignites and brings the vehicle all the way down, very, very rapidly slows the vehicle down so that it can touch down and land on the drone ship.
Yep.
Again, we are attempting to land the first stage
Now the
today
entry
on
burn
just
is
read the instructions.
done. is done
As
because
our, of
so
course,
as
I
to
Still
slow
Love
the
You drone ship
first
was
stage down
occupied with her
enough so
Demo
that
2 vehicle from over the weekend
Vehicles
up
on
until
nominal
last night.
trajectory.
okay, so that the first stage does not experience too much of re-entry effects. That's the reason, because they have to reuse the rocket. That's why.
We are at T plus 5.5 minutes. Stage 2
And now
still
the
looking
entry
nominal.
burn will come, is
And
going to
first
come up.
stage making its way back.
Just see the speed, guys. Just see the speed,
That
how
first burn, that
fast it
entry
is going
burn,
and
will
accelerating.
be coming up in about a minute from now, around T plus 6 minutes and 45 seconds. And that entry burn will last about 20 seconds long. Again, that is to slow the vehicle down as it re-enters back into the Earth's atmosphere.
It used to be 10 seconds, but okay, if it is 20 seconds now. Let's see what happens today. We are able to recover the first stage.
Stage 2 on your right screen, still on a nominal trajectory. And on your left screen, it is a little bit dark. It is nighttime on the East Coast. But we should see that screen light up with that entry burn, those 3 engines reigniting.
And we have the entry burn start.
Stage 1 FTS has saved.
Started? Yeah.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
And there you hear that call out, as well as a visual confirmation that those engines have reignited.
As you can see,
The vehicle continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
Now it will last for 20 seconds and then it will...
And stage 1 entry burn shut down.
And confirmation
that
that the
10
stage 1
seconds?
entry burn is complete, as well as stage 2 still looking nominal. If you heard that call out.
Now you can see the re-entry effects. Oh no. These are basically the re-entry effects which you were seeing right now, and the Falcon 9 lost its signal. Those were the plasma which you see. That was the plasma. Those
Coming
sparks
up
was the
next
plasma
is
and
the
was the
landing burn
re-entry effect.
around
And it is
T
so
plus
beautiful to see.
8.5
And
minutes.
for the night time,
Around
so
8
that's why
minutes
it
and
was
24 seconds.
visible properly. Now we'll just have
Looks
to
like we
wait
lost that live
and
view of the first
see
stage
if
coming
it
down,
lands
but
or not.
that is expected. So hopefully we can get that live view back. Right now,
Stage 1 is transonic.
Right now, what you're seeing on your left screen is the drone ship Just Read the Instructions. Followed very closely after the landing burn and landing of the first stage will be SECO 1, that is second engine cutoff.
And landing burn
around T plus 8 minutes and 58
started.
seconds.
I'm not wrong.
Stage 1 landing burn has started.
And we can all see the light also, and hopefully we'll be able
Terminal
to
guidance.
land it too, and we can have the view, please. Let's just see.
Landing legs have deployed.
And
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
here we have the
And wow, as you saw coming
And
down,
yeah.
that first
stage
stage
1 landed.
Falcon
Landing
9.
operators moving to procedure 11.100 on recovery 1 at DCF 9.
Amazing, that first stage booster has landed for the first time, for the 5th time for a Falcon 9 booster.
That's such a good
That is amazing.
accomplishment
We're waiting for
SpaceX.
second stage engine cut
Right?
off.
I'm just worried
What
about
an amazing view of
its
that first
landing
stage coming
side,
down, even though it was dark and night. But those engines lighting up the screen, watching first stage come down, was an
Nominal orbit
amazing
insertion.
view. And we heard a
Everything
call
is
out of good
right now,
orbit
but-
for second stage.
Okay, we are in the good orbit. Now we'll
Acquisition
have
of signal,
the
Newfoundland.
And now that second stage is going to, now that second stage is in a good orbit, it's going to coast for a few minutes. And during this time, it will start to spin along its central axis, giving these Starlink satellites the
Expected
momentum
loss
that
of
they
signal,
need to
please.
space themselves out over time after they deploy. So we will take a quick break and return back here at T plus 14 minutes.
So guys, as you just saw here, let me just explain you what will happen now. So guys, first of all, that landed, that actually landed, and you saw it. But I'm just worried about those the Falcon 9 first stage basically landed on a as you saw it, just missed it. I won't say the missed target, but where it was supposed to land in that region of yellow area, it just landed slightly away from it. But I'm okay, and SpaceX also knows that these things it has to take into account, and I'm pretty sure they'll be able to recover it. Yeah, they landed the fifth time for the first time. Now they have to recover it. And why did they use just read the instruction ship? Because guys, of course, still I love you is busy with the demo 2 mission. That's why they use this ship, and basically this is the older version of course Still I Love You. And now she was talking about that the Starlink satellites, the second stage will spin along its axis. What is the science behind it? Basically, spinning is required so as to separate the 60 Starlink satellites. SpaceX does not separate those 60 satellites one by one. It's just deploy all those 60 satellites at once, and then since they have the momentum, they have the angular momentum, if in the scientific term, the angular momentum, because of the spin, each satellite has different velocity because of the spin. If I explain you, just think of it like this. When a fan rotates, if you don't do this at home, okay, if you take a stick and put it onto the just edge of the blade, it will hit with a larger force, and that if that uh, stick is put onto the blades where it is attached to the rotor, then or the motor, then the impact would be much lower. That's what happens in the Starlink satellite deployment. Because of the spin, the Starlink satellite at the edge of the farthest point, at the edge of the whole lot, basically moves a little bit faster than other satellites, and basically every satellite moves a little bit faster or slower. That's the main concept, and because of that, it is able to separate. Once we have the live view of the actual deployment, then we'll be able to see actually what will happen, right? You have a clear view. I don't know why we are unable to see the live view of the second stage here. If we had the live view, then you will be able to see the actual rotation happening today. And after they just cut from the second stage live view to the drone ship, they didn't like they didn't we weren't able to see the second stage live stream. So we hope during the deployment we are able to see that.
Welcome back to the webcast.
Okay,
for
so we are
Starlink.
able to see
So
that.
far, we had an on-time liftoff tonight. Stage 1 successfully separated from Stage 2 and made its way back to land
As you
on
can
our drone
see,
ship
it is
just with the
rotating.
instructions, which was the first
So you can
time
see
a
the
booster has landed for a fifth
lights
time in
behind
SpaceX
it,
history. So very exciting.
not the lights.
Stage 2 is
Yeah,
still
lights.
nominal. And now
And
we are
that's
coming
the
up on
horizon.
deployment
So
of the
beautiful.
Starlink satellites shortly here in about 40 seconds or so. And we firmly believe in the importance of a natural night sky for all of us to enjoy, which is why we have been working with leading astronomers around the world to better understand the specifics of their observations and engineering changes we can make to reduce satellite brightness. One measure we're taking to accomplish this is by adding a deployable visor to the satellite to block sunlight from hitting the brightest
That's
parts
basically a
of the
shade.
spacecraft. Now let's listen into that call out for payload deploy. And again, the first unit with the sun visor is actually on this payload right here that you see in front of you.
Yeah. And deploy. Oh,
Payload deploy confirmed.
wow. It was so beautiful.
And
You
there
actually
is that
saw how it
confirmation.
just
We got a
deployed.
live view as it was deploying from the
Whoa,
vehicle. Those Starlink satellites are
that
making
was
their
so
way, separating
beautiful.
from second stage right in front of you right now.
I haven't seen it till
Shortly,
date.
they will deploy
As you
their
can see,
solar array, and over
these
the next few days and
satellites are
weeks, they will
separating
distance themselves from each other and use their onboard ion thrusters to make their way to their operational orbit.
because of the spin. They
And
are
also,
separating, as you
just
can
to
see that.
note, tomorrow's June 4th. That was actually the anniversary of our first Falcon flight.
Oh,
10-year
congratulations,
anniversary of
SpaceX,
our
for
first
that.
flight. So very exciting time. First Falcon 9 flight. So very, very exciting times. And that brings our webcast to a close. Follow our website and social media platforms for updates on our next missions and milestones. And as the work goes on to build a better, more exciting future, please stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you at the next launch.
Okay, so guys, if I conclude what happened today, we had a successful fueling and then startup, and then we had a successful liftoff at t minus 0 seconds, and then finally what happened after the liftoff. We had a successful stage separation, main engine cut off, the stage separation, and the second stage startup, and then finally we also saw those little nitrogen thrusters working all their way so that it is able to orient the first stage properly, and we saw that. After that, we were able to saw the entry burn also. We saw the entry burn where the three Merlin engines ignite so as to slow the vehicle down. So the first slow the first stage down, and then for for just a few seconds we were able to see the re-entry effects too. This was such a beautiful today. This was such a beautiful launch because we were able to see so much details of it. As I was speaking, after that the we lost the signal, and then finally we came to the drone ship view, and we were able to see all those features of the drone ship and landing, and we also saw the first stage landing slowly and steadily onto that drone ship. And this was the first time, as they claim, the Falcon 9 booster was landed for the fifth time. And then we had the second stage engine cut off, and it just the second stage performs a rotation maneuver, you can say a spin maneuver to spin all those satellites. And then finally we all saw a beautiful deployment of the satellites, guys. A beautiful deployment. It was such a nice view. I was so mesmerized by that because till that I haven't seen such a nice view till now, and we were able to see actual mechanism how it deploys, and it was so good to watch, right? So yeah, we I wish SpaceX congratulations for their anniversary on the first Falcon 9 flight. And yeah, so that's the end of the live stream today. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. And if you haven't subscribed till now, subscribe because more exciting things are coming up very soon. Just subscribe, stay safe, stay healthy.